everyone, APOC here. Been seeing a lot of things on the ED Eagle Dynamics Discord and forums about anti-ship warfare and how can I possibly sink some of these ships. Well, it's very common that these ships in real life cost billions of dollars to make. Therefore, trying to defeat them as one single aircraft like a FA-18 Hornet with anti-ship Mavericks or harpoons is a very cost-effective way of destroying these things, but also not really feasible. There are strategies and DCS-isms you can do to game the system and sink a lot of these ships. What I've established here today are essentially all the Russian combat ships currently in DCS, and what I think is the best way to go about taking them out in, for example, the FA-18C Hornet, given the limit. Uh, apologies, brain fart there. Given the limitations of the jet in the current sim. Starting off first with the corvettes of the Russian Navy, we have this anti-ship missile boat, the Melania, however you pronounce that. It's got a turret up front, really no factor for jets. These four large tubes on the side carry anti-ship missiles, and you'll see on the stern it's got twin Sea-Whiz cannons. This ship currently has no anti-air missiles that I'm aware of. I've ran it a couple times with AI flying overhead, as low as 6,000 feet. The Sea-Whiz can't engage at that range, and no anti-aircraft missile was ever shot at it. Pretty lightly armored boat. Uh, a 500-pound GBU-12 can do a lot of damage, but won't sink it. I found that a single harpoon or a 1,000-pound laser guided bomb is enough to one hit KO this thing. With the harpoon, though, given the twin Sea-Whiz at the back, I would definitely try to aim for bow shots. So using your sea radar, you can see which direction the ships are usually sailing. If you do a frontal attack, not a lot of coverage from the Sea-Whiz. Otherwise, flying above it with a 1,000-pound or 2,000-pound laser guided bomb is enough to sink that one. Moving on down, we have the Grisha. A little bit more heavily armed and armored ship. You can see it's got a single twin SA-8 OSA launcher on the bow, otherwise anti-submarine torpedoes, single Sea-Whiz on the stern, along with a single cannon on the stern. Similar to the Melania, it's pretty limited in what it can do. The cannon's useless. It's got a single Sea-Whiz again on the stern. With the SA-8, generally, if you're above 15,000 feet, you're okay. It can't shoot at you, can't hit you. And currently, it is not able to defend itself against missiles or bombs in DCS. So I did find that this thing can take a little bit more of a beating. It took about 2 harpoons to sink it, and or a single 2,000-pound bomb, whereas the previous Molnia Corvette took only a 1,000-pound bomb. So, pretty basic ship. Pretty easy to kill. Again, you can just fly above its defenses and bomb it from above. That is the corvettes. Moving up to the frigate classes, we got the Rezki. Looks like this ship was primarily designed for anti-ship and or anti-submarine warfare. You got a big anti-ship launcher up front. Again, the SA-8 OSA launchers, submarine torpedoes, or anti-submarine rockets. Then you got torpedo launchers mid. Another OSA launcher on the stern with twin cannons on the rear. This particular vessel does not have any Sea-Whiz to defend itself, so really easy to sink with harpoons and or 2,000-pound bombs. Pretty defenseless, makes it an easy target. Again, just stay above that 15,000 feet and you're okay. Nothing much to really go over on the rescue. Now's where it starts to get tough. I'm sure everybody's very aware of the Nishoshimi. This is a very powerful frigate fleet defender unit. As you can see, it's our first ship that's getting into the VLS, vertical launch system. This boat has essentially 4 octuplet SA-15 launchers on the bow. Every testing I've done with it, trying to see how much ordnance it can expire, it has about 32 SA-15 missiles total on board. And then it's got essentially what are 2 SA-19 launchers on the back. There's a naval term for it for the Sea Whiz. I have not been able to get it to run out of missiles. However, the SA-19 missiles primarily only seem to be good at shooting down aircraft and not so much engaging missiles. The cannons below the launchers, however, are pretty effective against shooting down missiles. Even though these ones are mounted on the stern, you can kind of see them poke off to the sides. Uh, Bow attacks are the best, however, given the angles, the ship can certainly engage bow missiles. This is a high threat given the SA-15 limitation. Anything over 25,000 feet, you're safe from its missiles. However, it can engage any bomb that is over 500 pounds. So you would need about right around 500-pound bombs from altitude to sink this thing. I have seen it get below 50% health, and the radars are still spinning, meaning that for this one to be totally knocked out, it either needs to run out of missiles or you need to totally kill it. So using group attacks, generally 8 FA-18C Hornets with 4 harpoons each, fired at the same time in a salvo, can generally get through its defenses. A single flight of Hornets or a single Hornet using harpoons pretty much has no luck. If you're flying by yourself and wanting to sink this, just recommend bringing a lot of 500-pound bombs and flying at or above 25,000 feet. That's the Nishoshimi. Alright, getting on to the bigger, heavy ships. Russia currently does not have any destroyers in DCS, so we're moving on up to the cruiser. There's only one of them. It's the Moskva class Moscow. Pretty formidable ship. Bunch of anti-ship missiles. Twin-barreled cannon on the bow. Plenty of Sea Whiz. You can see we got 2 Sea Whiz cannons right off the bow. You also see you got twin Sea Whiz on each of the flanks of the ship. And then a host of VLS missiles. The Moskva, for what I've seen, only carries S-300 SA-10 style missiles. So very formidable at altitude. You can't fly over it. It has decent range. I would say, averaging, depending on your altitude, about out to 35 miles. This ship does have a glaring weakness in the rear. As you can see, all the Sea Whiz are more centered towards the front half of the ship. So you got these 2 dead center looking outwards, and then you got these 2 up front looking forwards. So, even if this thing was 90 degrees to the left, because it can't shoot into itself, you got this big exposed rear section of the ship. I'm going to do a little mock attack with harpoons to kind of show you how I would recommend to easily combat this ship if you're a solo ship. Got a little FA-18 set up. This is assuming you've seen your sea radar and the ship is traveling. We'll just say this direction. It's about 065 degrees, 056 degrees. and you're planning to attack it. So we're going to set with our simple Hornet here. Let's go with the harpoons. Let's start about we're 32 miles. Let's get a little elevation here, 5,000 feet. Just taking our 4 harpoons. And we're just going to attack this from the stern and see how she reacts. Squelching is terrible in these things now. I just set up our air to ground. We're going to use our sea radar. Boom, there he is. Let's go ahead and lock him. Boom, that direction. We can see on that little piece going out that he's traveling away from us. Go ahead and set up our harpoons. We're going to start descending. We're going to get real low right down here. Generally, what I try to shoot for in my autopilot is right around 30 feet barometric. Let's go ahead and shut this thing off. So we're holding 30 feet. We got our target. As you've seen, I set all my Mavericks up to RBL because there's only one ship out here. It's going to be the only thing it picks up. We're going to seek on large. That way it just starts. So what I've learned is the range bearing launch is like a Fox 3 missile. The bigger the target, the faster the warhead will actually activate. So therefore, it will get down to its terminal 65 feet flight path sooner. We're within 17 miles. I'm going to start popping up on this guy. So that way, 400 feet, ripple off all 3. Give the guys time to pick up the target and also drop down. Alright. I've set pause here. We can see our missiles are descending. They're down to their low altitude right there. We've gotten close enough for RBL to work. And the missiles are now homing on the ship. You can see that little black spot. There they are. 4 miles, 3 miles. Bang. 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 70% damage. Actually looks more like 90. All the radars have stopped spinning. This ship is probably going to slow to a crawl, and it's absolutely useless. So there you go. The Moskva, one of the most powerful ships in the game. Just completely curtailed by a single Hornet with 4 harpoons. Alright, getting near the end here, we got probably one of the most annoying ships in the game, the Peter the Great, the Russian battle cruiser. You can see it has multiple VLS systems in here. This thing has a host of SA-15 missiles, S-300 missiles, SA-19 launchers. There's about 4 of them back there on the stern, 2 of them on the bow. I've tried using massive waves of Talds, 12 Hornets, and still this thing can pick off every missile that you throw at it. This thing is incredibly tough and just does not run out of missiles. However, in a single Hornet, there is still something you can do about it. While it is true the bow Sea Whiz can still focus forward, even though it doesn't show it, this thing still tends to have either a delayed or a minimal reaction time if you're within 2.5 miles from it. So what I'm going to do here is show you a tactic I've learned in the Hornet, utilizing the anti-ship infrared Mavericks. I believe they're the Maverick Fs. Yep, 65F. So, for this one to work, you need to fly head on the ship. So the ship right here, as you can see, is sailing towards us, and we're flying at it. Just gonna go ahead and set my steer point on it. It's moving, so I won't be able to designate that steer point. Let's go ahead and get into the jet. There's our wonderful squelch again. Go ahead, shut off our altitude warning. So right here, I'm just going to sink prematurely down. Just going to use the effect that we've already found in our RC radar. We roughly know right where it is. Barometrics on. We're flying the heading. Let's go ahead, pull up our T-pod, get it in infrared. What you want, steer point 2. So looking, we're flying at it. We're about 36 miles away. Let's get course corrected to steer point 2. There she is. See if we can get her point tracked. There we go. We got her point tracked. Let's go ahead, set. Let's try to place her right at the bow of the ship. I had to wait until I get about within 10 miles. I'm going to speed this up. As you can hear, none of my RWRs going off. We're fine there. We just picked it up. There's a search radar right there, HN, but we're not getting locked. $14, 11, 8. Alright. Let's go ahead and pick this bad boy up. Point track, designated. Show about 10 miles. It's about 9.3. We're just going to go ahead and go with that. Get our Maverick up. Set it to ship mode. Sensor of interest Maverick. Alright, it's set. What I'm going to wait is until I see the CWIS start firing. So I'm in mill power right now. I'm not in afterburner. And we're just waiting until about I start to see the guns fire from this ship. Alright, there they go. Afterburner. Fly up. Mavericks away. There we go. We did some damage right there to the Puriter. Full afterburning away from this ship and trying to get down to a low altitude to escape. Alright, there we go. And look at that. We did 2/3 damage to the Russian battle cruiser. However, the thing's a tank. Radars are still working. And it's still able to engage. But if you and a buddy went at it, you could easily kill it and get away. Alright. That's the Russian battlecruiser. Alright, folks, this brings us to our last ship. Probably the one everyone loves to kill, the aircraft carrier, the Russian Admiral Kuznetsov. This thing is a tank. It's got multiple anti-ship missile launchers tucked just before the ramp. It's got a lot of point defense weapons. You know, you got two SA-19 close-in weapon systems up here, two on the other side. You got multiple VLS SA-15 point defense missile launchers. You got a flank-mounted just conventional Sea-Wiz. And then pretty much everything you saw up on the front, you get on the back. So another close-in weapon system guns and SA-19 anti-aircraft missiles. Another battery SA-15 VLS launchers. Then on the stern, you actually have tucked away down here two other Sea-Wiz cannons looking at the stern. You know, again, just like the last side, you got the close-in guns, SA-19 missiles, SA-15 missiles. The one thing that Kuznetsov is lacking is any high-altitude missile like an S-300. So this thing is essentially, you know, obviously can launch aircraft for self-protection, but this thing's a floating Nishishimi pretty much on steroids. Against a single aircraft, it's tough to get anything to bear on this thing by yourself. Even though you would think with this ski ramp up here would have a massive blind zone in the front, but due to DCS radar physics, even though they're what would be the equivalent, I would imagine, of their Aegis track radars, even though they're pointed skyward, they can still see 20 to 30 feet off the water at about 3 miles out from the ship, just given the vast amount of anti-missile guns. You know, I've tried doing the Maverick salvo like I just did previously on the Peter the Great. If you're lucky, 1 to 2 will hit, taking off a sliver of health. Even at like 1 mile, these things are still deadly to any kind of missiles. Harpoons seem to have the greatest effect. You get the best bang for your buck if you get a hit. Uh, but you need to fire them. If you fire in a group of 4 Hornets, you might get 2 or 3 that'll impact. If you're firing in a group 8 or larger, would be recommended. Another strategy you can employ, again, as I mentioned, the anti-aircraft missiles are, you know, the largest one you got is an SA-15 style. It can only reach, believe, maximum it'll engage you is somewhere below 25,000 feet, depending how your mission's written. But with that said, the SA-15 after DCS 2.9 can engage any bomb, essentially radar cross-section equivalent of anything greater than a 500-pound bomb can get intercepted. And just given the mass amount of launchers and missiles on board, you can only use the 500-pounder, and if you take a Hornet with 8 500-pound bombs, you're only doing a sliver of damage. You could definitely, if you're trying to, you know, do aerial denial, and it's got aircraft trying to taxi and take off and intercept, assuming it doesn't have a Moskva or Peter the Great around, anything with high altitude weapons, you can definitely foul up the deck, take out any aircraft that are taxiing, trying to take off, leave carcasses on the deck that prevent the AI logic from taxiing, but she's just a floating battle fortress. She's an aircraft carrier, typically. You know, you would expect it to be well defended, heavily armored. She's a beast, but if you have the patience and the skill and or friends, she's, you know, everything has its weak points, can still get taken down and still engaged by a single Hornet. Well, I hope this video series has helped you if you're just trying to play by yourself and get into the anti-ship action. I know it's fun. I know it's heavily limited in DCS. Just given the multitude of missions you can do across, land, sea, and air. Anti-ship is a very specialized function, so it doesn't get a lot of love. I know the one thing we're all waiting for is the implementation of critical points on the carrier. You can use harms against any ship that has a radar. However, given the warhead size and the armor on the ships, it just doesn't do anything. So maybe in DCS 3.0 we can look at destroying ship radars, allowing us to be able to use our heavier weapons to sink these things quicker. But you know, who knows what will come in the future. Have a good day.